Starting lineup: Pantheon, Warwick, Diana, Vayne, Swain, up against Trundle, Volibear, Victor, Jinx, Milio. Rating of the picks for a lower ranked game: Pantheon as a top 8. Warwick in the jungle. We're gonna bump Warwick up from a 7 to an 8 for the lower ranked in the jungle. So that's an 8 for Warwick. Diana as a mid, 3. Vayne as a shooter, 8. Swain in support, 9. Trundle as a top, 9. Volibear in the jungle, 7. Victor as a mid. We're gonna bump Victor down from a 1 to a 0 for the lower ranked as a mid. So that's a 0 for Victor. Milio in support, 5. Here in this game, some very nasty ultimate action. Definitely was able to bring out the sniper in me. We're gonna have this child calling himself Last Words, experimenting on Victor. And spoiler alert, the title is not going to come through for him, and he's not going to end up being a survivor. And survival is an inaccurate way to describe this individual. We're gonna have this stop here, bragging about the fact that he finished in Iron last season. This individual has come to the conclusion that playing top is just all about kill stealing. And in many ways, Pantheon is really to be built like an assassin. So putting Pantheon, however great of a champ he is, in the top lane is kind of the same as putting Zed in the top lane. Or putting Talon in the top lane. Because Pantheon is de facto an assassin. This is the clash between a 3 and a 0, which is a good thing because you finally get some kind of perspective on what Diana could achieve if she was allowed to grow. This is the type of game that makes you think whether there should be some kind of in-game currency required to queue up for a ranked game, so that we don't get tutorial mode inside of a ranked game. To observe the gap between the kind of stuff that gets called out and the kind of stuff that we just accept as though it's normal. In finding that balance, results, as in wins versus losses, seem to matter very little. It seems to be something you especially see on Western teams more so than Korean teams or Japanese teams. They all really know that KDA in the end means nothing if you can't win games. But for some reason, they're just not acknowledging themselves knowing that. It's like they know it, but they can't accept it. And when I say bottom of the barrel, this is what bottom of the barrel means. Moving on. We have Anabo Jueles here. 30 seconds into the game. WTF, I am missing. This game partially decided by the duet between this Trundle player and this Pantheon player. This Trundle player, a very nervous person who makes random adjustments that have no real value, seems to constantly need to go potty, and a combination of the parasympathetic shakes and social awkwardness. There's no math going on here, there's no reason to advance with Trundle at these times, there's no reason to retreat at these times, there's no reasons to spin in circles. Your behavior is jittery, and the behavior of this Pantheon player is consistent. We're going to have very consistent usage of this Aegis Assault throughout this game. The third spell of Pantheon, channeling ability where Pantheon blocks incoming damage and deals damage to nearby enemies. This is so sweet if you want to be in the middle of a fight and need to mitigate damage. and just such a frightening cue as an enemy to perceive Pantheon suddenly capable of tanking true damage. We're gonna have the best of Volibear here because this is before his itemization. In fact, this goes for both this Volibear player and this Trundle player. Neither one has had the opportunity yet to screw up the shop, which they will later on. And ending up with a, you guessed it, attack speed build. Because why on earth would you want anything other than Twitch stats and Jinx stats on a tanky bruiser like Trundle or Volibear? All that natural shield and tankiness is there for is just to simply F it all up and expend it on attack speed. Everybody knows that. And then within the first minutes of this game, committing this atrocity of just bending over for what is truly the most pathetic kind of human being in League of Legends, which is really saying something in these Warwick-style players. Very unfortunately, humanity has never surfaced more in League with all its ugly facets than in this Warwick cult, where it is very obviously the 14-year-old kid who can get tough with 22 other 14-year-olds around him. And then when he's by himself somewhere down the street, he's suddenly as quiet as a church mouse. Very much the case with this early game Warwick situation. They don't have the skill to coordinate any marksman ability. They don't have the coordination to get any benefits from an assassin ability. And so what they end up doing is on this IQ 70 champion of a Warwick, which is just a big bad wolf, abusing this 4 minutes in power spike to the max, where the game is inherently totally twisted in the favor of Warwick, and because of the base stats he cannot be overcome by anything, and we're going to milk that until there's no tomorrow, and then pretend like we're tough guys for the rest of the game. Like a good micro-Linus loser. Nothing that I would like to sink my teeth into more in real life than this kind of switch boy. Nothing. The most pathetic kind of cuck. Bragging about borrowed power, boasting about the ability to mash you, and just scum without an education that is only good for going downhill. As long as everything's easy going, you're part of the crew, and then once you get the slightest little pushback, you get an emotional meltdown and an explosion. More wisdom shared from Anaboeles, and Warwick slowly starting to become undone mentally. We're going to have Victor rolling his biceps here, and just look at this stacked later on from Trundle, doing the tact, up and down with the tact. On this level of play that we are involved with within the axis of offering a serious chance to players on the one hand and being open and liberal on the other hand, we are all the way over to open and liberal. And so you should never not play ranked no matter what you're doing, because you're wasting all of your time and your progression time outside of ranked. as long as you haven't hit bronze. You have these people allowed in this environment in Trundle who doesn't seem to understand the basic controls. Using Ghost, that typically means an old person. You have this Victor just purely responding to a social awkwardness and behaving in a way that relies on virtue signaling, just unironically stepping out there with a literal HP left below 5, intentionally handing the enemy team deaths. Nothing outside of that matters. With all that said, we have now seen Victor a total of 60 times or thereabouts. He has failed 60 times. Victor is in the top 3 worst champions in the video game. When you play Victor, you should go this way. 1 Thornmail, 2 Kanik, 3 Heartsteel. This way, you can make him a kind of durable ball that doesn't go down. You won't really be able to accomplish anything, but you will be kind of a solid mass that can get in front of enemies and at least protect the team. It's truly impressive to have no single achievement in 60 attempts. It truly puts you in a remarkable category. Note also that Victor is one of those champions that I've never had any doubts about. It's not like this has ever been close in any way. It's not like we've ever seen like this be able to be turned around or the other side of this like we have in so many ways from Trundle. There has never been another side. It is a steady diet of complete, uninterrupted failure. If you would have to bet your house on a Victor performance in a game, you could make the bet because it would be a safe one at this point. We have enough stats to really say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Victor will lose whatever matchup that he's in. As such, champions who cannot achieve anything automatically become tanks. Because if you cannot achieve anything, then any penny you put toward offensive capacity is wasted, since, again, you never achieve anything. This Volibear in many ways going to demonstrate in this clip what he was throughout the rest of the game. A man who is very easy to summarize. Straight line retreat and then last minute flail. Moving out of guilt and fear is the summary of your behavior. You spent the entire time running away in a straight line, and then at the last moment from shame and guilt, flailing back, frequently getting killed in the very last moment. In other words, you're trying to kite on Volibear like he's some kind of hypermobility Kalista. You are playing Volibear like he's Kalista. That is the ultimate comp here. At 7 minutes and 40 seconds in, the boast is fading, and now all that is left is the decomposing madness in this Warwick player. Because you come down from that artificial high, and once again become a being that is mortified about how others perceive it, and deeply insecure, hysterically yelling at everyone, like a panicking woman. We're gonna have this Trundle do the Trundle thing. Swain sticks around for a little bit too long. And the rules of the game have changed now, because we're 9 minutes and 30 seconds in, so I have my ultimate. I used that up, but I still have my teleport, so we're going to end up coming over as a team player would to help this Volibear out. End up diving under the turret and taking Warwick out. That is really making the most of those summoner spells. As Trundle, your third spell is a pillar of frost that you can put in between you and your aggressors, so you can always get away. I see that you're not a fan of that, so you're just stumbling around with people hitting you. You notice with all of the points put toward Navori, with all of the coin put toward attack speed, with Navori Flicker Blade has very weak hitting abilities, probably because he never did a single thing to empower them. And you are stupid enough to really embrace the concept of a dodging, kiting Volibear. You believe that without any help whatsoever, you're going to make this happen. It's very clear. You're going to be the 600-pound bear that dodges and tap dances past the enemy. We're gonna have all in all this Warwick player never fully coming after me, because if you have no kind of appetite for controversy and you don't have any kind of masculinity that allows you to stand up, then the result will just be you're going to go for whatever is the easiest and the weakest. And since you have this Trundle player and this Victor player dying on purpose, Warwick will just stick to that. We're gonna have that constant poke from Diana with Crescent Strike. This mechanic works similar to Akali's main mechanic. The difference is that Diana is gonna get extra attack speed and Akali is going to get extra magic damage. The poke that the first spell offers kind of falls off later in the game, which is why for many people it's just perceived as a meaningless fling. In the mid lane with Volibear, who has no kind of defense on him of any kind, we're going to see both the third spell as well as the ult from this Diana player. And just gap closing with this Lunar Rush. You just have some versatility with her, making sure that you're going to shut down Volibear. Somewhat frightening to see this Pantheon just hover around the enemy, waiting purely for the kill steal. It's really worth pointing out that if you're going to play your character this way as a top, it's not just antisocial behavior, it's also that the enemy may truly get away, meaning Pantheon is so eager to save all of his cooldowns to kill steal that all this time he's not doing any damage to Trundle, while Trundle is getting away. This is one of the reasons, since I was raised by people and I had parents and I'm not scum, this is one of the reasons why it's so difficult for me to kill steal efficiently. You're handing food to the enemy in many cases in order to kill steal. It's saying that you would rather have the enemy get away than let somebody else on the team have him. Which is verging on insanity to me. That kind of decision making could easily cost you the game, and also, what is the value of an individual kill? And as poorly as this Warwick scales with Ruined King, he scales a lot better than Volibear does with Flickered Blade. And in a lot of ways, this Milio talking about Warwick and me going over to kill him and shut him down. A very good summary of this team, how it functioned. And more importantly, how it did not function. And we're not dumb, we're just stupid, so we're going to use the same tactics on Trundle again and again and again and again. And if it's not broken, and if you're a terrible Trundle player, don't fix it. Since you're such a great offensive leader, if I were you, the next time I'd go with some more offensive items. Look at all these kills you've been making. Instead of thanking for his shooter, this Volibear player is going to use this blast cone to launch Warwick into the river so that he ends up coming after me, literally getting me killed. Later on, I end up coming back with the ultimate. And of all the Volibear moments, this is really the most iconic one. He does it the whole game long without interruption. The man is nothing but a pattern, but especially here, walks back in a straight line, looking to escape, is going to escape, then at the last possible moment feels guilty and ends up backpedaling and flails wildly while he's dying. And this is just nothing more than me being tricked into giving up a couple of deaths for the good of the team. If you go through the whole game, you will find this top jungler and mid dying in the stupidest possible ways, continuously putting themselves in impossible situations purely from greed. You will find that every single one of the times that I went down, it was purely because I was trying to help somebody else out. I end up going down trying to clean up you end up going down from greed, and guess who has the best record anyway? I kind of refused to snoop around in the laning phase in one of the other lanes, not because I had any faith in the people that I was aligned with here, nor because I thought that the top and the mid would be able to sort things out, but simply to extend myself the courtesy of swooping by whenever there was a kill to be made, as that was already putting pressure on both the top and the mid. I just stayed out of the rest. A lot of comedy to this Swain backing away with a fright. And one of the many things that this Volibear player screwed up completely, having no rhythm in the jungle whatsoever. The only thing you're basically managing is the basic jungle camps. Out of the total of about 8 jungle objectives, not a single one throughout this game was used to trap anyone by way of this Volibear player. Something that I, when I jungle, do nearly 100% of the time. And it just gives me gray hair and makes me want to pull it out. Seeing these brain-dead approaches to the game. The only thing that everybody comprehends is how to say WTF, WTF. It's like a caricature. I can't really believe that it's ever been that bad in society before. Just doesn't do anything for you either. I've said WTF perhaps twice in the entire history of this channel. At the end of the day, all you're doing is like a woman puts the responsibility with her man. You're just putting responsibility on the other guy. That's all you're doing. All that it does with the woman is it makes her dependent on the man, and it's the same for you. It just makes you dependent on the other player. It's never going to make you happy. It's never going to make you be your own dynamo or make you self-sufficient. You got Anaboelis making use of the ping system. You have me jumping in. I'm going to teleport to the top lane, chasing down this Pantheon. We have Victor around, who's going to move in. I don't know why. Followed me. I end up taking 100% of the damage, but I have the ultimate and listen, hey, I'm going to end up coming around to Jinx kit. We're gonna have this beautiful thing where you will never guess what happens. Yes, you guessed what happens. Volibear retreated in a straight line. We have this Diana looking at Victor like he's pepper steak, only going to back off when I say so. We have this Volibear player near the inner middle turret, and you'll never guess what happens. Yes, you guessed it. He retreated in a straight line, and then at the last moment he flailed back. Eventually, Diana found a juicy treat in me, so is going to push me around, stand up to her immediately, and I own her because it's Diana. Let's take a look at these individuals. Let's take a look at what parts they played. Let's take a look at how they interacted with each other. We have this Trundle player. 3 kills and 10 deaths. You pretty much played for the enemy team. You had a very wise plan in mind. But you should keep your wise plans to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, go back to the basics. If we had a decent ranked entry barrier, such as having to pay some kind of digital currency or some kind of in-game currency as a risk in order to enter a ranked game, we wouldn't have these types of players like Trundle, this Mate player, who seems to struggle with the basic controls and is only here to sabotage everybody else. We have this Volibear player, Poncho, Flicker Blade guy. Flicker Blade, typically an item that we see. Xayah, typically played alongside Rakan. Both of them come from the Vastaya, a mystical animal-like race. And perhaps that's where it came from. Perhaps you went like, well, Xayah is an animal, I am an animal, so it must work. But you're wrong. It doesn't work. And what is the point of picking anything beefy if you're not going to beef on it? It just blows my mind. We have this Victor. Victor, I say, a top 3 terrible champion, but really, how can he not be the worst of all time? When we've never seen a single instance of Victor succeeding in anything. How can he not be the worst? Anybody would have had at least one victory, right? Or at least 1% success. If it evens out to any kind of degree, you would eventually have some kind of win. But Victor just manages to never get a single win on anything. If you ever play as Victor, your objective should be to try to trick the enemy into thinking that you're going to try to use your abilities, but instead building up massive armor and massive magic resist. Playing kind of the way you would play Nautilus. Victor should really be played like Nautilus. And then you just end up outlasting the enemy with your super goofy stuff, and your main weapon would become the fact that everybody would underestimate you. And you could actually get kills like that. You went 0 kills and 5 deaths or 6 deaths. Yeah, stuck in iron forever, baby. We have myself as Jinx, I believe 8 kills, 3 deaths. Just doesn't matter. Nothing matters with allies such as these. I think the most useful thing about this game for me was some training in how to use Super Mega Death Rocket. I gotta say, having spent so much time on Warriors on WoW, with how important the execute skill is, natural tendency to understand abilities like Super Mega Death Rocket. We have this Ana Bojueles playing Milio with a considerable yap. I mean, uninstall the game and install WhatsApp, man. You wanna talk, you don't wanna play, you wanna talk. Como estas? That kind of thing. We have this Pantheon player. I believe 10 kills, 5 deaths. I had a high opinion of this guy until I watched the replay. And then I saw that he could have screwed his whole team over just by trying to kill steal. So yeah, you are officially a garbage person. And you can hold hands with this Warwick player. You can meet garbage people together. This Warwick player just what you get when you mix 13-year-old white boys with a lifelong regime of female overseers and matriarchs. This is what you get when you teach young white boys a bunch of feminine behavior. And just a nasty bee. Just a nasty bee is really all that you can make of this kid. You have this Diana player, 5 kills and 4 deaths. I kind of like this. I mean, he was a pretty reasonable person. You never played Diana before, you had 0 mastery. And this is really cool because if you're ever going to experiment with Diana, let it be here. You lucked out and it was a beautiful moment. I kind of like it when you get these kind of ramping champs like Diana and Katarina who almost never succeed. Now you play him against something like Victor and you actually get a chance to see what may happen when they can potentially grow. It was interesting. You have this Vayne player going Rage Blade and Ruined King. There's gotta be better options than that. You also went with Doran's immediately, that's 450 gold. That's a lot of cash, man. Very big part of this matchup was justifiably he was intentionally underestimating Jinx, which is something that I myself would do. Which is nice about being me, is that everybody underestimates you. We have this German boy that MC Thunder. It's really cool that you're making all these cool hip-hop DJ references like mic controller. It makes you look very American, so you can blend in with international culture. It's very smart of you. You know, you understand the American and could be mistaken for an American, and you just know the culture. But I would recommend using your ultimate every now and then, because if you're never going to use your abilities, you may as well not have them. Other than that, it's kind of hard to screw up Swain. We ended up just unanimously surrendering in this game, which is kind of offensive to me, because my surrender after high quality play should not come as easy as yours as this Trundle player or this Victor player. It kind of makes me mad to see this top and this jungler especially just being able to slip in and slip out of all of this. Getting 0 hate for it, 0 controversy. They're clearly completely out of place here in every possible way. But people seem to just normalize it. This kind of defeat is supposed to be normal. Me playing Zed in the jungle, for instance, or Mundo in the jungle, that is a grave illness and a grave mistake and a grave controversy. It's funny how that works. How winning games seems to be secondary in terms of morality. I'm starting to comprehend that the whole point of this community is to just ignore everything. It'll be interesting to see how many of these matchups that I can find, and later on maybe document as it pertains to how long it took me to exit or leave behind Iron. You spend your nights flailing away at these League of Legends scenarios and matchups, get about as far as a small child banging up against a door. Let's go ahead and break this down as repetitively as Robert Ramble's wailings about the starter zone. Are you the super fast chase down man? Were you hypermobile? Why did you think that 25 armor for 1200 gold was a good deal? Why? We're never going to be able to move beyond this point if you don't come up with why. Good, this item fits in many ways, but is offense really what you suffer the most on? And then this, a Jax item. Let's break this down for a moment. Does Trundle have like a Caitlyn type of range? Where whatever point you are at, you will be able to auto-attack? No. Does Trundle have a kind of Lady C effect with poison spells, where it will poison the enemy every time you hit him? No. Does Trundle have a kind of Neko effect that every third attack or so will do bonus damage? No. Does Trundle slow the enemy down by hitting them? No. Does Trundle build up a bleed effect over time? No. Then why on earth would you think to go attack speed, Jack style? How would this synergize any better than giving him magic damage? Or mage items? What is really the difference? And we see here with all his upheaval and all his noise and all the protest, you can tell that it is the type of boy that you just want to sit down in a room in front of you, lock the door, and spend a slow couple of hours with the boy. Behind all that attitude and all that noise, at the end of the day, you're just cookie cutter copy pasting everything like a good little obedient cook. You're just mimicking other people for all your cool rebel attitude. You're just the same as everybody else. You pretend heavy loser. Please contact me if you see this or hear about this. Honestly, so we can get together, sweetheart. We see here this quick little spike from Vayne could possibly be the Doran sword. I'm very eager to see how these things will balance out. Most definitely, of all the starter items, Doran's ring appeals the most to me, and it is an item that really doesn't work with Jinx. For now, I'm really going to try to look past Doran's 500 gold. You're just delaying that crit spike way too much. Yeah, we see here Victor unable to convert any kind of power that he purchases is basically not going anywhere. It's very difficult for Victor to make good on any kind of investment in the mage tab. Yeah, you see me with the largest killing spree here of 5. Everyone other than Volibear has a 0, so that's always good. Playing as Jinx, I have the second highest crowd control score behind Volibear, so that's always good, you know, if you're considering support here. Great job. We see here some real effort, to my surprise, from this Volibear player in terms of ward placement. Considering your position, this suggests that you were trying, which is surprising. Moving on.
seconds until minions spawn.
What if I had a gun that shot other guns?
Minions have spawned.
Wait, I'm thinking. How do people do this? You think I'm crazy? You should see my sister. Seriously, screaming helps not at all. Ask me if I'm listening. I'm not! I'm wearing lots of belts. I don't even think once of it's going to step. This should help. Ah, come on. What's the word? She's such a loser. Always ready to cry. You're right.
First blood. Enemy double kill.
Who needs reasons? jinx.
An ally has been slain. Shut down.
Whatever. Let's just switch it. Yeah. I'm crazy. I got a doctor's note.
Shut down.
I'm trying to care, but I just can't.
An ally has been slain.
Gotta die sometime.
An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill.
Hurry up. Alright. This should help. 3:41. Nice. I really need a new gun. But don't tell my other guns. Other guns.
Enemy killing spree.
Very fair. It's fair.
Slain an enemy.
You're welcome.
God, these are fair.
Ask me if I'm listening. Hint, I'm not.
Enemy rampage.
I'm wearing lots of belts. For no reason at all.
An ally has been slain.
Basically, like, this
Your
volley
turret
better
has been
player
destroyed.
has no idea of the basic controls, man.
Shut down.
Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
Enemy killing spree.
You got people going 0-6.
Such a loser. Always ready to cry.
Shut down.
All part of the plan. Just kidding. Hold on. This should help. Cool.
Turret plating will soon fall.
I have the best intentions.
An ally has been slain.
Basically, like, you don't have basic controls anymore. You don't know the basic controls.
Let's just say, said no one. Jinx? Stands for Jinx.
An ally has been slain.
Basically, like, did you know how to log on? Like, did you log on yourself? Like, you basically don't know, like, the basic controls.
I had a gun that shot other guns. How do people do this?
An ally has been slain.
I'm crazy. You should see my sister.
An ally has been slain. Shut down.
You're not laughing.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Ask me if I'm listening. Hint, I'm not.
Alright,
I'm wearing lots of belts. I don't even think once about blowing stuff up.
Dang, the little mobbies! The mobbity wobbies!
Destroyed a turret.
Look at him, look at the little mobbies!
An enemy has been slain. Unstoppable.
fucking life! Yay!
An enemy has been slain. Has been destroyed.
Smile! It's called gunplay.
Killing spree.
I have the best intentions. Accidentally did that on purpose. Let's just behave.
An ally has been slain.
Whatever, let's just start shooting.
Enemy double kill.
Yeah, because all you do is run away in a straight line. You know, that's your whole game.